Are you interested in becoming a permanent part of the channel or having a direct impact on the type of content that I create? Well, now you can check out the Alliteration Gaming Patreon. Throughout it, you're going to find a handful of different tiers that can include special perks like shoutouts on the supporter card at the beginning of all my videos, access to the private channel in my Discord, and the ability to watch all of my content on Patreon a couple weeks early and totally ad-free. On top of that, the different video tiers will let you commission videos directly from me. We can build a deck together, you can send me some gameplay to commentate, or even select a character for me to spotlight. You can also now join the Alliteration Nation by becoming a channel member on YouTube. Pledging your subscription here is going to grant you a same spot on that supporter card and access to that same Discord channel, as well as hook you up with a member's badge that levels up and access to emotes when I stream on YouTube. I'm going to have the Patreon link down below to check out, and the Discord should you want to join that. And if you want to become a channel member, the join button is what you want to hit. If you end up supporting my work in any way, thank you so much. I'm incredibly grateful, and I can't wait to provide you with more top-notch content at my trademark top speed. Now, let's get on to the video. Good evening, my dear viewers. My name is Levi. Welcome to another Alliteration gaming video, and it's time for another build a deck. I, of course, have Zeth once again this month, bringing me a very, very interesting piece. We're going to be looking at their Momo 2 deck on the good symbol that has one singular focus, and that is to play the sickest, really big swords in the world. This deck is going to be all about jamming tons of attacks that build foundations, one of the premier things in our game right now, and it's really going to be looking to stack up that count and make sure that that sword is as big as it possibly could be. Their deck, however, was a little low when it came to the weapon side of things, so let's see how we can bring in some signature Levi spice and throw in a ton of super sick weapons into this deck to really bring out the full potential of Momo 2 as a character. Alright, so you've sent me this very, very cool Momo 2 deck with a lot of things going on with it, but the main concept is play a really big sword. So just tell me what's going on with all of that.
The original idea came from, I saw a really big sword and I wanted to get the powerful rating as high as I could without compromising the actual build itself. And going through all the different good characters, I looked at and saw Momo 2 be able to play something like Contempt for Heroes to look at the top, grab a free foundation, and from there have every attack in some way, shape, or form provide you a foundation, and get really big sword to powerful 5, powerful 6, stick stun 2 on it with Momo, and then send this obnoxiously large sword for 20, 30 plus damage.
Yeah, no, that sounds sensible to me. Momo says it starts at powerful 3. Every other attack that we play is just gonna do more, and like, yeah, I think your sub theme of like every attack is gonna build a thing is super duper sick. I think the only so I'm really in love with what you've got going on here. The only thing is that with really big sword, right, the most threatening part of it truly, like the reason this card has the number 2 on it is because of this response. You're gonna clear it from the card pool and replace itself. That response is insane. That is why this card's got the number 2 on it. And the big thing with that right now is that in the current state of the deck, the only 4 difficulty or less weapon target for this card is our 2 create bow staff. So despite the fact that, like, yeah, we are probably going to pressure that full block because, as you said, half of 30 damage is still a lot of damage. You're kind of like not allowed to block this card, half anyway. It's almost like tape swing, right?
He found me out.
It's like tape swing, except there's belts. There's belts holding all of our swords together instead of tape swing. No, this card is super duper sick, and I'm really in love with your sub theme of the rest of your attacks. However, we've got to get some weapons in here. It's really funny because this is reminiscent of, I think there were like a couple comments too when we did the Stain 2 deck, and everyone was like, yo, 7 weapons in a Stain 2 deck seems kind of sus, bro. And like that was workable because, like, you know, Stain asks us to play 1 weapon a turn, and that's kind of it. She does as well, but she also wants you to block with a weapon, so it's still a little more intensive. But the big thing is that really big sword and wants us to have a bunch of cool weapons in our discard pile to really find the full value. But the good news is, Zeth, my friend, that we can hybridize those concepts really well, keeping your build with every attack sub theme in line with a bunch of weapons. So I've got a bunch of really cool things down here that we can consider. Capturing Net, I think, is probably the most auto-include of these. It builds, it's a weapon, and it's also just a very good card.
Oh, absolutely. And I like the idea of being able to see if the top one is an attack or not when you first form with something like Contempt. And if it is our 2-check, then we just play any foundation that checks through that, and then play Capture Net.
Yeah, we get to bypass our 2 or our 3 check on top, and then just snap in whatever we want the most, which is pretty gnarly. I think Capture Net is definitely like the auto include here. I definitely don't want to get rid of all these non-weapons because a lot of these are really crazy. Like obviously Haymaker is a pretty crazy card. I think
so. Hot take: I am totally cool replacing Haymaker with Capture Net. It's a lower difficulty move. It allows us to kind of work in with the weapons, and the other idea of it has stun 2 on it as well as a part of its combo. And I believe that being able to have more targets for really big sword is going to overtake the value that Haymaker brings to the table. And I myself am one of those that, like, Haymaker's good. I don't believe it to be like a 4 of good or even a 3 of good sometimes. And I believe being able to have Capture Net on top of really big sword having 2 attacks behind each other as opposed to just Haymaker, I think just works better with the deck.
Do you think it's better than what some of the other ones are doing?
I could definitely see about replacing Knee Smash as well. It's either Knee Smash or Haymaker I could see going for Create Capture Net.
Yeah, I think Knee Smash is okay. I think like my only issue with Knee Smash is that the build can be incidental, right? Like it's not going to happen every time.
And generally I liked it with things like One with Nature or Raiding the Villain Hideout. You can selectively choose a foundation in your hand and discard it, and then remove a foundation, not only proccing Precious Lesson, but also building any foundation from your hand for free.
It does most certainly proc Precious Lesson. I think so. I definitely want to put a handful of weapons in here. I think Capture Net is like the most obvious one. So honestly, we might end up cutting more than just like, like this Knee Smash or Back Alley might extend a lot further than just this discussion. Obviously, Hardened Jab is always very good, and I'm pretty impressed with Chop. Like Chop is just kind of like always super solid. Maybe not the 4 of. I think it just depends on how many weapons we feel like getting in here. I think there's also an argument that really big sword should possibly be a 4 of, just because it's like the focus of the deck.
Right, that makes sense. And as an FYI, I am not married to anything that's in this build. So if we need to remove cards entirely, if we need to rearrange things, I am open to virtually anything.
I think Frenzy and Knee Smash are probably those are the initial ones in my head that I'm not super blown away by. Just because again, that build's not going to happen every time. That's kind of my main thing with these 2 cards.
Yeah, and I do like the idea of having the guarantee build as opposed to giving the opponent the choice of, hey, do I build with this?
Yeah.
Although I will say I think Knee Smash is a little bit easier for us to interact with to get that free build, whereas Frenzy is the opponent just chooses, hey, I'm just going to half block.
Right. Which like is cool because they also got to have to do that with really big sword, right? It kind of like stacks up that ultimatum. I think for now, I would be into like chopping Frenzy out of here and then maybe putting like Chop to a 3 of to put our Capture Nets in.
I like that.
We'll put this to a 3 of. We'll get these bad boys out of here. Also, like just the fact that you can like open with the Capture Net and then it's just like stun 2, like that just feels so strong. It's just so strong. It's just so good. Because this is the correct Momo, right? It doesn't have to not have the keyword. Because that was like a thing for a while. Because like the printed one, I think, has that text on it that it has to not have that keyword already. And they were like, nope, don't worry about that, guys. That text's not real.
I love it.
So past that, Past that, I think all of these are kind of like which ones are screaming out to you type of territory. I have Staff Strike in here just kind of like as a meme. I don't know if this is truly a Staff Strike deck. But,
No, I would say like we don't really do a lot of foundation manipulation in our card pool. So I myself would X-nay on Staff Strike.
However, as far as killing people goes, I think Cannon Blast is an absolute must in this bad boy. Keywords or not, this is kind of just one of those cards that goes in almost every good symbol deck because it just kills people.
Oh, absolutely. It was in the original build, and what happened is I was committing more to Big Sword.
Yeah.
I had 2 of Cannon Blast in with the original build, and I shaved them out for chops, mainly because out of like Block Zone, Breaker 1 build.
You know what's cool though is Cannon Blast does have Breaker 1.
Yeah, it does.
Everything has Breaker 1. I also think it's cool that we get to cover our zones right now that we have Capture Net, because we have a low block, a high block, and a mid block weapon now. But I want some more weapons in here. I'm trying to smith it up. It up. Hardened Jab, and Hardened Chop. I don't know. I think like they're good, and obviously like this already has Breaker 1, so it's not bad. But as far as like as far as killing people right with this deck goes, if you just full block really big sword, does our deck ever kill them?
Yeah, and that was the big problem that I was having. Is I'm like, let's say in a magical world, hypothetical even, that it got full blocked. What do you do? And the answer is cry.
Right. I think the fact that we get to put like powerful 3 onto Cannon Blast is just nuts.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, you blocked really big sword? Tight. Here's Cannon Blast.
Yeah, like it's so fine. It's so fine. It's not the one that we get to go grab with really big sword, but I think that's super duper fine. So I think as far as like, I think we'll probably have to pick to keep one between Jab, Knee Smash, and Chop.
I think the one that I would like to keep would probably, like, Jab's super good, but I also like that Knee Smash interacts with Small and Limber.
Ooh, yeah.
That way you can kind of like squeeze out a little bit more stats out of it.
Totally does. That's pretty sick.
And I think out of them, I would like to keep the Knee Smash.
Yeah, especially because like that's the one that Small and Limber can actually pump, right? Charge, Fury, or Kick. Net is a charge. That's nice. Right. That's pretty nice.
And
back alley's a charge. That's pretty nice. Definitely has enough incidental usage. So let's keep these 2 Knee Smash, and then let's change these 3 chops and these 4 jabs. Put in like 2 cannons. That feels fine.
I like that.
2 cannons feels super fine. And then we have a lot of other really, really good options. I think Gecko Stomp is just like a really sick card. I've been loving that in like everything that I've been playing lately. I also think that Twin Sword Slicer in like a weapon deck is a really, really insane echo. I don't know if we're committed enough for it though.
Yeah, we don't really have any ways to cheat momentum or really snap anything. Like, yes, Good has access to that stuff. However, I think, at least for what we're kind of aiming with, Slicer may not be the way to go. Although, I do like the idea of having both Haymaker and Gecko Stomp, because we basically have Haymaker and Slaymaker working together to give us free foundations if they ever get blocked.
Yeah, it's a nice deadlock as well. I think Blade Rush is also kind of cute because, like, again, our character gets to say, you know, that it is a 5 diff, right? Because we're committing 1. Let's say it's a 5 diff. It's a 5 diff, 5 mid for 6. That just says stun 1 because you can't allow me to play cannon. That can't be reduced.
And I mean, on Deadlock, if we haven't procced Momo yet, it's stun 5 with her stun 2 and then the stun 3.
It is a very relevant deadlock. It's a very, very, very relevant deadlock. At the same time, so is Gecko Stomp. Gecko Stomp is also a super relevant deadlock. Again, the Gecko Stomp is just also the thing of it's not a guaranteed build. And are you okay with that?
Honestly, no, because the idea that I had is I would like to keep my focus on moves that guarantee me a build.
Right.
So, and I think the other reason I avoided it also is that block zone wise, Haymaker covers that already. And the other issue I had is that really big sword also couldn't pick it up.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is a 5 diff weapon. Now, if we want to talk about 4 diff weapons that guarantee a build, huh?
Yeah, that's. I'm feeling pretty courageous.
I mean, like we have the spinner syndrome, right? We are Momo. We do get to build in our big foundations without having to be super wary of checking 2s, which does feel really, really good when it comes to playing multiple 2s in the deck. And I mean, being able to just go and grab anything while also stacking up that powerful, I mean, this card's like just very, very solid. This card's just very solid. Removing a ready foundation to go and build any non-unique, like, man, that feels really, really good. That lets us get so techie with our foundations, right? It makes our like only 2/1 with nature so much better.
Absolutely. And the other thing with it also being able to work with Precious Lesson as well, I'm 100% sold.
Yeah, I think this card feels overly nerfed. Like, I wish it could remove a committed one. I wish it could build a unique thing, right? Like, I wish it could build forward checks. I feel like there's so much more this card could be doing, but even in its current form, I think it could still value a place in our deck. In a deck where it's the only 2 check, it doesn't feel worth it, but we are already 2 checked up.
I'm sold.
I think we could play like 2 of it. Feels pretty good. A 1 of Blade Rush.
There we go.
Put in the 4th big sword. We had 21 attacks before, right? The 3rd Cannon Blast. There it is.
I like it.
Boom. Boom. Now we've got a whole, 2, 6, 8 targets for our really, really big sword to go grab. That feels really, 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 really... I'm sorry, 9 targets. 9 targets for our really big sword to go grab. That feels good. We've got 7 kill cards. A third of our attacks just mess people up. Feels really good, and almost everything still guarantees build now. And we've put, a little bit of late game pressure into the deck as well.
I'm sold. I like it a lot.
That feels super duper good. As far as our foundations are concerned, how do you feel about your lineup as a whole? Like, are there any like holes you feel in it? Because I've just put a ton of like generic good symbol good stuff in here.
I think for me the biggest struggle was finding that balance between keyword foundations and non-keyword foundations.
Yeah.
Rising Starlet is a little bit of a weak link, at least in my opinion, for the list, because the most I ever saw it doing was, hey, you get to free build it and gain 2 health. Woo.
Right.
And aside from that, it doesn't have the effect that Contempt does, that like it works off the top of the list. And that's why I had Contempt, I believe, as the 4 of. And I'm looking for either foundations that I'm okay like playing out normally in place of overselling into like the free build, so to say. Like, you see what I'm saying?
I do. How would you feel about the other end of that axis and that axis and just kind of committing more to it and doing our best Momo 1 impression? Like Rising Starlet, like it's a weapon foundation and it's a foundation with a keyword, so we're already inclined to put it in our deck. Could we be inclined to build around it? Could we put it to a 4 of and then play a bunch of quick creates and then play more bow staffs? How do you feel about those words?
I think what would happen then is, for me, it would beg the question on making this a Momo 1 list at that point, because I believe that Momo 1 works better with Quick Create than Momo 2 does. While having Breaker 2 on Quick Create is awesome, I don't know. I'm open to it.
See, you started talking about it, then you were like, hang on now. I mean, yeah, there's probably an argument for this to just be a Momo deck because we're a good symbol character that wants to play a partially weapon deck, but we're not here to do that. We're here to gain 1 health, boys.
Right.
We're here to gain 1 health, lads.
I think for me, what just drew me the most in terms of foundations with Momo 2 was just being able to free play Contempt. Like, that was like I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. You're telling me I get a free card and a free build? I think that's nuts.
I really like this character. I've always liked Momo 2 falls in that category of like 7-handers that I would love to one day play, but I just haven't found like the cards that make me want to do it yet. It's really her symbols, because like life and water are not like, they're not Levi symbols. They don't do it for old Levi. They just don't do it. I also think that like if you really want to make an argument for it, she also is playing 2 checks a lot better than Momo 1.
Yes, I do. I would say that's appropriate.
Yeah, we get to skate around that that difficulty window, which feels really good. I think we do have like a hefty amount of foundations with keywords here, but I don't know, I think there's a, you know, I know you really like it. Do you think the knee smashes could become bow staffs, and we're just gonna full send build stuff? We're gonna weapon it up all day every day.
Oh, so like grab a weapon foundation out of our discard and then build it in with Rising Starlet?
Yeah, first form, build this Starlet in, jam a bow staff in, put something in the pool, flip, build it down. We started our turn with our 4 or 5 build from turn 1. Now we're at 7. Let's follow it up with a capturing net and just like start going crazy. Jam my really big sword on whatever because I got a million foundations to commit. Clear our card pool. Go grab the more stuff. Like,
okay, I'm picking it up. I like the idea.
Like,
all right,
just run the engine totally wild, man.
I like that. I think that's a cool line.
Yeah, just like run the engine like freaking crazy. I think that would be super duper sick. I think that would be. I was like, let me go see if I've messed up our zones at all after messing with our attacks. Nope.
All right, we're open then. Let's go for it.
They're actually synced up. So let's take these knee smashes. Christopher Bromley is rolling in his grave, but Nathan DeWalt is celebrating to the world as we put 4 create bow staffs into this deck, as God intended, man, as God intended. Just because I think it's purely off the back of our character already wants us to like. They encourage us so heavily to already play this card that I think if we're gonna like do it, we should just be like full sending it and actually committing to playing this card.
And I like the idea of that if we're not free building Contempt, we're free building Rising Starlet.
Mm-hmm.
And either or, we're either getting a free card from Contempt or Rising Starlet facilitates the build in anyway, and that gives the extra +3, however many powerful to really big sword.
Yeah, like, and
I'm on board.
It just lets you do really, really cool things, right? Like you've seen, Nate do all the time where he's like, play an attack, hit, play a foundation, play an attack, Momo or Starlet it down, right? Like there's really cool plays you can do to kind of like turn every attack into, like a pseudo haymaker, right? And then also, it's every time we do that, it's just going to make our swords even bigger.
Absolutely.
It's just going to make our swords even bigger, man. That being said, we now have to figure out how to get quick creates in there, which shouldn't be too terribly hard. Do we charges? Is it just we have Cannon Blast, we have Back Alley, we have Cannon Blasts now, we still have Back Alleys. This is not a charge? That makes me sad. The capture nets are a charge. I think 1 earphone jack is still super cool in this. Kota, I think, might have to go the way of the dodo. We don't really have... We have 1 low attack. Yeah.
I mainly had him in there as a free build for Momo, and in the case that we full block something, then we could use his ability for the -2, and then on the next attack we use Breaker 1. That's mainly the reason I had him in there. It was strictly for defensive purposes.
You think you're blocking more than 1 attack in this economy, bud? You're crazy. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. I think just having Breaker on everything is enough to make this guy not super missed in here.
Fair enough.
I'm just gonna throw in 4 quick creates. I'm just putting him in there.
I'm on board.
I'm just gonna put him in there. We'll figure it out. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
That's fine. We'll get there when we get there.
Resistance, I like as a 2 of. It's got a keyword that feels super good. Hero's Inspiration now, though, is our first order of business when it comes to these foundations. We got to jam the heck out of this card. We've got 4 capturing nets now. We're doing all of our quick creation stuff. We got to jam this thing.
It's free.
This card's so good in our deck now. This card's so good in our deck. It's really, really strong. So I guess that I'm just gonna put these in there. I'm gonna put these in there. We're gonna figure it out.
That's all right.
We'll figure it out. Let's start looking at things that might not belong in here anymore. We've got the 3 passings, that's pretty staple. We've got 3 specialists, that's pretty staple. Our Rising Starlight is our money maker. 2-1 with nature because we wanted at some point to make our really big sword fast. Contempt is the card. It is. She's everything. She is Contempt for Heroes. Sense of Justice might not fit in here anymore.
Yeah, I think that they get cut because I was looking for like high blocks and DR.
Yeah.
And
I love this card.
I believe that with having proper block zones, having breaker, that I think we'll be okay.
I love Contempt for Heroes. I really like jamming that card in decks. I'm just not sure if we get to fit it in this one. I think we have good speed reduction and good block mods as the good symbol that it's not. We're not like desperate for a card like it.
That's fair.
Then after that, it's kind of just a matter of like what good symbol staples do we want from there on out. We do have 6 2-checks in our deck. Granted, we can be a little less mindful of that because we are Momo 2. It's not as pressing. But there's definitely like some spams that would feel really good in here. I think that high value target, Bonds of Friendship, or Manly are probably like kind of at the top of my table. As far as just stuff that would feel good in here. At the same time, you know, Precious Lesson is pretty important for what we're doing, especially now that we've got the quick thinkings in here. Just feels really good. So I guess between stuff like, see how many we've got, 2, 6. Oh, this is a 4x keyword foundation that's now in our deck.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So like
I like free builds.
Yeah, so like we don't like have to play stuff like Resistance or Preparing for Battle anymore. Maybe
I could see. You said Resistance or
Preparing for Battle. Preparing is a weapon, so I'm a little less inclined to take it out. I do want to keep our weapons, our weapon counts in here pretty healthy, so that we can make sure that we're, you know, blocking with our weapons.
I think I can get rid of Resistance now.
Yeah, I think Resistance is okay to go the way of the Dodo. Therefore, it can't be fixed, and we have back alleys to build them in. You know, we're not wide open to stun tactics. You know, we will survive. From there on out, I'm not sure if anything else. I mean, it's kind of just personal preference from like good symbol staples from here. You know, do you prioritize like self-sack, destined, small, and limber, you know, more than Manly, Bonds, high value target? I'll take Mail Bond out of here because we're not.
Because with us being a 19 health character, I only see us taking one attack, and Mail Bonding would need to be on board for that to happen.
I think I only threw it in here because it's got the keyword.
Yeah,
but
because that was one of those that I considered also. I'm also looking at myself being a 19 health character and going, I don't think I'm going to let my opponent just crash my face open just so I get a card on their turn. I'm looking for cards that build on my turn.
Yeah, I agree. Block zone wise, we're starting to look a little low on highs. We've kind of got like 1 million lows in the deck, if you want to take that into account when we're going through these. I think, let's see how many we have. Taking those out, we have 3, 7, 11, 15, 17 of our 43 foundations have keywords. So and we have 5 assets. We've got 22 cards inside of our deck that Momo gets to first form in, which is a lot. That's quite a hefty amount of them. Starlit and Preparing are our only weapon foundations, though. So we should also keep that in mind when it comes to blocking with our weapons.
Absolutely.
I think, I don't know. I would really like we're kind of low on speed reduction. Like we really only have Specialist of Sound. Past that, it's kind of just, you know, off the back of like having, you know, a hefty amount of +1 mods. So like I would feel pretty good about like high value target. Having 6s in our deck would also be nice with Bonds of Friendship.
I would say that in the case that we're including high value target, perhaps doing a 1-to-1 for one of our other low blocks, mainly because we're already so high in on that section for blocks. Yeah. I am cool with self-sacrifice probably going to a 2 or even a 1 of, so that way we could get high value targeted.
We can make it like a 2 of, and then yeah, I don't know, man. I like all the gray cards in our deck quite a lot. I don't really, we already only have 7 zeros, so I don't really want to cut any year finish. This card's also just like insanely good in Deadlock.
And being able to sculpt the top of our discard pile with cards like Raiding the Villain Hideout and One with Nature allows us to match up an attack just to be able to draw us a card in case we ever need to.
It is quite easy. Man, how do we end up with so many low blocks in this deck? It's like actually really funny.
Do you think it's in our attacks?
We have bow staff, we have quick thinking. No, we only have 6 in our. I guess it's just kind of because we're playing 4 heroes.
There it is. There's and contempt.
Yeah, it's really like these two as 4 ofs that just kind of like pushes it over the edge. I think you could play something else over preparing for battle.
I agree.
I think 6 low block weapon attacks is enough to be blocking low and getting your breaker 1. I mean, obviously breaker 2 off this is like cool, but I think like this could also be a card that does something in our deck.
Right, instead of discarding a card and drawing a card.
Right. It could also just like be a better block zone, right? You know, it could be
That's true.
a high block Bonds of Friendship or a high block New Training Method.
I like the idea of bonds for sure.
Yeah, I think we can cut these preparings. We can put 3 bonds in. And then that kind of evens out our zones quite nicely. Our deck is kind of thick though. We've got like 68 cards in here with 21 attacks. So maybe if we could find like 2 or 3 cards to cut, I think I'd be super happy with where we are then.
Okay, if we're looking for cards to cut, our zones are pretty even. You said.
Yeah, we've got 21, 23, 24. So
okay.
we're looking pretty nice with it right now.
I could see Inspirations and Contempt going to 3s, so that way we at least free up 2 slots.
I don't hate that. Like we do have this card to like go and build things in.
True.
So it doesn't feel awful. It is only like a 2 of those. I wouldn't want to super rely on it. How would you feel about cutting the 2 small and limbers?
I'm sold. We no longer have knee smash. We can see about removing those.
Yeah, I just don't think that we get to do a ton with this card anymore. Like, how do we actually clear our stage in this deck anymore after we've fuddled around with it so much? Self-sacrifice?
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dump it.
At that point, are we even playing Precious Lesson anymore either? It's like actually just quick thinking, right?
I think it can go now too.
Yeah,
sure.
I think there's probably better things we could be doing with, because like I mean, if we just hard take out those 5, that puts us to 63, which with 21 attacks, 21, 18, 24 on our zones, I kind of just don't hate that where it is.
I'm sold.
You know what? You want it? And we'll put in this one. Go for the win because you said you wanted to put it in. And
yes, I wanted to play that card so bad in this list.
And then we're in there like swimwear.
I like it.
And there you have it, guys. That is Zeth's Momo 2 really big sword deck that is now 100% certified weapon pilled. This deck was a ton of fun to work on. Big thanks for commissioning this experience with me. And of course, if you want to build a deck with me and have something just like this, you can check out my Patreon linked down below for all of my video commission tiers. Above all else though, thanks just for watching and making it to the end of this video, and I hope I see you in the next one.